So apparently I'm no good. All I am to my brother and my family is a free babysitting service. Here's the scoop. I work from home, and now my older brother is trying to take advantage of that by just dropping his kid off every single day. So this is where it blew up. I tell him with a big notice ahead, hey, you can't drop your kid off because I'm going to Costa Rica with my girlfriend for 10 days. And he freaks out. He says, how can you do this? I'm relying on you to watch the kid so I can work. I can't afford daycare. And I guess it makes me the bad guy for saying, well, you should have thought about that before you had a baby. I'm not the dad. It's not my responsibility. Guys, he looked at me like I had two heads. That's not even the craziest part of the story, but hey, I'm getting ahead of myself. I have the full scoop. Hey, I'm Jonathan, 24 and male, and I work remotely in a software support company. My older brother Pete moved to my city last year with his wife Tanya and their 4-year-old son Kyle. When they first arrived, I was actually excited to have family nearby. Pete and I were not super close growing up. He's 7 years older and was always the golden child, but I figured this could be our chance to build a real relationship as adults. At first, helping them out felt natural. They were new to the city, didn't know anyone, and worked from home, so I had flexibility. I would watch Kyle once or twice every couple of weeks while they ran errands or went out on a date night. I'm not a kid person by any stretch, but Kyle was manageable in a small dose, and honestly it felt good to be the helpful uncle for once. Pete would actually thank me, and Tanya would bring me leftovers from wherever they went, and Kyle would run to the door excited to see Uncle Johnny. Everything changed when Pete switched careers late last year. He left his stable marketing job to pursue something in logistics that he swore would be better long-term, but currently pays about 60% of what he was making before. Suddenly, they could not afford their regular daycare anymore, and that's when the temporary favor request started rolling in. Hey bro, just until we get back on our feet, Johnny, you're saving us right now. It's only 3 days a week and you work from home anyways. Well, 3 days became 4, and 4 became can you grab him early today, which became actually can you keep him until 7. So before I knew it, my apartment had transformed into an unpaid daycare center. My coffee table was covered in crayon marks, and my cousin's cushions of the couch permanently smelled like juice boxes. I had to buy a whole cabinet just for Kyle's snacks, toys, and the spare clothing that they would have just in case. The thing about working from home that people don't understand is that I'm actually working. I'm not sitting around in my PJs watching Netflix just taking a check. I'm on calls with frustrated clients, debugging software issues, writing reports, attending virtual meetings. I mean, it goes on and on. Try explaining to your boss why there's a 4-year-old screaming, "The floor is lava! 6-7, 6-7!" in the background of your quarterly review. Kyle's behavior deteriorated too. What started as a sweet kid who would color quietly while watching cartoons turned into a tiny tornado of destruction. He figured out that Uncle Johnny could not really discipline him because Uncle Johnny was stuck on his computer. He would throw tantrums during my important calls. He broke my gaming headsets. He somehow got peanut butter on my ceiling, and well, I'm allergic to peanut butter. I still don't understand the physics of this one. I tried talking to Pete about it, but he would just laugh and say, "Aw, kid's right. You'll understand when you have your own kiddos." When I mentioned to Tanya that it was affecting my work, she actually said, and I quote, "But you work from home. It's not like a real job where you can't have distractions." So guys, I started taking notes. January alone babysat 18 days, February 22 days, and not once did they offer compensation. No, not once did they ask if the schedule worked for me, it just became expected. My girlfriend Lucy and I had to cancel 3 weekend trips because Pete would text Friday afternoon saying forgot they had plans and needed me to watch Kyle. Well, the breaking point came 3 weeks ago. Tanya, she came to pick Kyle one evening and started her usual routine of criticizing my apartment. "You really should move that glass coffee table. It's so dangerous for kids." Then she would look around my home office and said, you should really start baby-proofing the whole place. All these electronics, these sharp edges, it's like a death trap for children. Well, I laughed nervously and said something about not planning on having kids anyways, not anytime soon. She smiled and said, well, you better start planning. Pete and I are trying for a second, a little girl this time, hopefully. Kyle's going to be such a good big brother, and you'll have 2 little ones to spoil. The way she said it, like my apartment was just an extension of their home, like my life was just a satellite orbiting their family, made my blood boil. She was already planning how I would be watching 2 kids. She stood in my apartment that I pay for with my job that she belittles, talking about baby-proofing for her future children. I kept my mouth shut that night, but I was done. So done. A week later, I told them Lucy and I were taking a 10-day Valentine's trip to Costa Rica. We've been planning it for a month, back when I actually had free time, and the tickets are non-refundable. The hotels were even booked, and I was desperate for a break, and I gave them 3 weeks worth of notice. 3 weeks to figure out an alternative daycare solution. Well, their response, was this. Pete laughed and said, come on, you can't be serious, we need you here. I said, I'm completely serious. Tanya's face went red. She says, who's supposed to watch Kyle? We can't afford daycare. Well, that sounds like something you should have thought about, I said. Pete stood up and got in my face. You're really going to abandon family for some vacation? It's time you grow up and start taking family responsibility seriously. First of all, the audacity of this Pete to stand in my face. I don't care if he's my older brother. Listen, I wrestled almost collegiately and I was high school state champion. I can take this man down. Well, Tanya piled on, these constant trips with your girlfriend are so childish. You're 24, not 18. When are you going to stop running away from adult responsibilities? Something in me snapped. I guess years and years of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who never complained, it all came flooding out. I said, Kyle is your kid. Not mine. You chose this life. You chose to switch jobs. Your financial problems are not my responsibility. I'm not his parent. I'm the uncle you've turned into a child care service. Pete said I was being selfish and needs to grow up. And that's when I said it, the thing I can't take back, the thing that exploded my entire family. I said, maybe you should have used protection before creating a problem you can't afford. The silence in the air was deafening. Tanya's mouth fell wide open and Pete's face went from red to purple. She grabbed Kyle and stormed out while Pete stayed behind to scream at me about how I'm a heartless piece of crap who doesn't understand sacrifice and how I better pray I never need help from his family. Within an hour, my phone was ringing, I should say exploding. My parents, who have not visited me once in 2 years since I've lived here, suddenly had very strong opinions about my behavior. My mother called me disgustingly selfish, and my dad said I was falling my duty as an uncle. Tanya's parents, who I've met exactly twice, were texting me about family values and how it takes a village. But here's what gets to me. Not one person asked about my side. Not one person acknowledged that I've been babysitting for free for months, and not one person said, hey, maybe Pete and Tanya should figure out their own childcare. Lucy thinks I'm completely justified. She points out that they've been taking advantage of me and that the, protection comment, while was harsh, came after months of exploitation. My best friend says I'm right, but could have handled it better. So, I'm going on the trip regardless, but I feel sick about it. Part of me thinks maybe I'm being selfish and they're struggling and I do have the flexibility to help. Kyle didn't ask to be born into this situation. Maybe I should be the big person and cancel the trip. But another part of me is so tired. Tired of being tired. Tired of being everyone's safety net while being treated like I don't have a real job or a real life. So guys, am I the a-hole for choosing my life and my girlfriend over my brother's kid? Update number 1. Let me paint you a picture of growing up as Pete's little brother. When I was 10 and Pete was 17, he took my bike without asking and crashed it doing stupid tricks with his friends. When I got upset, my parents grounded me for not sharing and bought Pete a car for his 18th birthday, just 1 month later. And when Pete failed out of college, my parents paid off his student loans and debt and set him up with a job at my dad's friend's company. But when I graduated with honors, I got a Starbucks gift card. Pete was the star athlete, apparently the charming one, the firstborn son who could do no wrong. Apparently, a football star is more important than a high school wrestling champion. Anyways, I was the afterthought, quiet, responsible Johnny who never caused issues, so nobody ever thought to ask if I had problems. Your comments made me realize I've been conditioned my whole life to be Pete's support system. And even now, my parents have visited Pete 12 times since he moved here. They visited me 0. The only time they came to my apartment is to drop off Kyle when Pete asked them to. After reading everything and doing some serious soul searching, I decided to reach out to Pete and Tanya to apologize, but only for my harsh words. Well, we met at a Starbucks, and no, I didn't use the gift card because that was years ago. I said, look, I should not have made that comment about the protection. It was cruel and inappropriate, and Kyle is not a problem. I'm only sorry for implying that. I was angry and lashed out, and that was wrong. Well, they accepted the apology, and Pete even seemed genuinely surprised I reached out. And for about 30 seconds, I thought maybe we could work this out like adults. Then Tanya opened her mouth. We appreciate the apology, Johnny John, but honestly, if you're not going to help with Kyle anymore, the least you could do is pay for his daycare. You obviously have the money if you can afford all these Costa Rica trips. I said, sorry, what? She doubled down. You make good money. You have no kids, no responsibilities. Pete and I are drowning here and you're planning vacations. It's only fair that you contribute financially if you won't contribute your time. She wasn't asking, she was telling me that I should pay for their kids' DAYCARE. Pete just sat there nodding along like this was totally a reasonable request, and I stood up slowly trying to keep my composure. I said, let me make something crystal clear here. I'm not Kyle's parent, I'm not your bank account, I'm not your permanent backup plan. I'm done. I'm done being treated like the family servant who should be grateful for the opportunity to serve, and now you have me raising my voice in this beautiful Starbucks establishment. Well, Tanya started raising her voice too, about family obligations and how I'm abandoning a child who loves me, so I walked out mid-sentence. I just couldn't do it anymore. I took my pumpkin spice double pump latte and dipped. By the time I got to my car, my phone was already ringing. The family group chat went nuclear. My mother said, your brother is just trying to provide for his family and you're being cruel. My dad says, you have no idea what it's like to be a parent. You have the means to help and you're choosing selfishness. Pete, thanks for showing your true colors. Well, the best one was from Tanya's mom. She said, what kind of man refuses to help raise his nephew? Raise? They really think that I should co-parent this kid? Here's what took me out, though. My mother followed up with, you've always been jealous of Pete. This is just trying to hurt him. Okay, jealous of Pete, the man who's using his little brother as free childcare because he can't afford his life choices. The man whose wife just demanded I pay for their daycare. Yeah, Mom, I'm super jealous. How about this, Mom? You move out here. You buy a house or an apartment or whatever, and you watch the little kid. I muted the family group chat and had what Lucy calls an ugly cry. Not a gentle tear situation, full-on sobbing in my car, in a coffee shop parking lot like somebody passed away. Because someone did, I guess. The version of me who thought if I just helped enough, gave enough, sacrificed enough, maybe they would see me as more than just useful. Well, that guy is gone. My therapist would probably say this is growth or setting healthy boundaries, but honestly, it just feels like grief. I'm grieving the family I thought I had. The brother I wanted Pete to be, the parents who might have loved me as much as they love him. But I'm also relieved, like a weight I didn't know I was carrying just got lifted. Guys, I'm going to Costa Rica with Lucy next week. I'm turning off my phone when I get on the plane. Airplane mode, baby. And for the first time in months, I'm not going to feel guilty about it. They wanted me to grow up and take responsibility. Well, I am. I'm taking responsibility for my own life. Final update. It's been 4 months since I went no contact with my family, and I just want to give a final update here. This will be quick. After our Costa Rica trip, which was incredible by the way, turns out vacations are way better when you're not anxiously checking your phone for a babysitting guilt trip. I made the decision to go full no contact. I blocked Pete and Tanya on everything, left the family group chat, and told my parents they could only reach me through email for genuine emergencies. The first week, it was rough. The guilt was like a physical weight on my chest. I would see the kids at the grocery store and think about Kyle. I would wonder if he was asking about Uncle Johnny and where he went, and I'd have dreams about family dinners that never actually came to fruition. The kind where everyone's laughing and no one's asking me for a thing. Well, my therapist has been incredible through it. She said something that reframed everything in my mindset. She said, you weren't their son or their brother, you were their support system. They're not mourning losing you as a person, they're mourning losing what you did for them. Oh man, that hit different. About 6 weeks into no contact, my mother tried calling from a different number. I let it go to voicemail because I thought it was her. Her message said, your brother's marriage is struggling and you could have prevented this. Pete had to quit his job to watch Kyle and now they might lose their apartment. I hope you're happy. Could I have prevented it? Yeah, probably. If I kept being their free daycare. If I paid for Kyle's childcare like Tanya demanded, and if I continue sacrificing my life for theirs, maybe their marriage would be fine, but here's what my therapist helped me understand. Their marriage is not failing because I set boundaries, it's failing because they built their life on the expectation that I would always be their safety net. So 2 months ago, Pete tried reaching out through a mutual friend. Apparently, Tanya's pregnant again. They wanted to reconcile before the baby arrived. The mutual friend said Pete was willing to forgive me for abandoning the family if I apologized and helped out, just until they get back on their feet. Forgive me for having boundaries, for having a life, for not wanting to raise children I didn't create. Well, I declined the offer, but here's the thing about going no contact that nobody really tells you about. It's not dramatic finale, it's quiet. It's walking through Target without your phone ringing with a demand. It's booking weekend trips to the cabin without checking if someone needs babysitting. It's coming home to an apartment that still smells like your apartment, not like a juice box or fermented pee. Or maybe broken dreams. Lucy and I are stronger than ever. We're actually talking about moving in together, and a baby might be coming sooner than we expect. Wink, wink. Well, last week, my dad, he sent an email with the subject line emergency. My heart drops. I opened it expecting death or disaster or something. Instead, it was about Pete needing money for the new baby's nursery, and I could step up as a man. You know what? I didn't reply, and it felt damn good. Let me know, does this make me truly the a-hole for wanting my own life?